seems to be one of the first things you go to. And
Sure.
I don't know why.
Well,
It still is. I still love talking morality. Chewy, welcome to the show. Appreciate
Can you hear me
coming
now?
by.
Hey,
Yeah,
thanks.
I can, man. How are you tonight, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, brother. Do you have anything? Are you a fan of the show, or do you have anything you want to bring up with me?
Yeah, I've been watching this show for quite a while, actually. And I just saw there was a hangout, so I thought I'd join in and see if I can add anything. I'm always really confused by Christians deciding that because you have a subjective morality that you can't expect anyone, or you can't talk to anybody about what you wish they would do.
Yes, you're not allowed to have opinions.
Yeah, it blows me away every time I hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the weirdest things, and it's like you wouldn't expect that from anybody in society, not to have an opinion on something. Sorry, guys, my voice is really going. Apparently, like you would go. Please, someone say something.
I was gonna say I thought it was kind of interesting when you were saying how the universe doesn't make a value judgment in that conversation. And okay, so we can agree. So I was thinking we can agree there's physical laws to the universe, right? Gravity and whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
What if there was some sort of moralistic laws ingrained into the universe, like maybe the idea of karma or something, or there's a yogi maxim that you become what you hate. And I think I've been thinking about that recently. That kind of ties in with something scientific, this idea of projection, about how when people are insulting someone else, they're really this is like Carl Jung's the idea of the shadow, where you repress the things about ourselves that we don't like, and we put that in our unconscious shadow. And so then oftentimes when we're insulting someone, we're actually talking about the things of ourselves we don't like and other people. So that's like a psychological phenomena that's, I think there's legitimacy to that. I haven't I'm not sure, but so like maybe there's some intrinsic moralistic values to the universe, like physical laws. I don't know.
I think the idea that if there are material laws that demonstrate morality in the universe would destroy supernaturalism, or like the idea that morality comes from the supernatural, from a god or a deity. If science could prove morality comes from the universe, I think supernaturalism would throw it out of the window.
I think, PMR, I think it's an interesting idea, right? And I think that I would be open to it. I'm open to that type of idea. It's not something that I haven't seen any evidence for. But I will say one thing though. I do see things within the world where I think that your behaviors and your mentality have effects, right? What do I mean? How am I going to articulate this? So there was I don't know if anybody ever watched the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? I know it's a very new age kind of movie. It came out like about 10, 15 years ago. It's got all kinds of weird, interesting concepts in it, but it's if anything, it's just a fascinating movie to watch. There's some good stuff about quantum physics, things like that. But it talks about this idea that people become addicted to emotions, right? In the same parts of your brain that kind of like you can get that stimulate like drugs, like when you get high, are very similar parts of the brain that kind of like affect emotion, right? And that like when you meet somebody, like if you ever met somebody who's completely negative all the time, like just miserable, and it just seems like they constantly just find reasons to be upset. You might find it with people who are angry. People are just angry all the time, and they just get irrationally angry over stuff that like most people just are like, oh, okay, it sucks, but
like
I'm not going to get mad about it.
Your perception changes reality type of a deal.
Well, it's not really changing reality. It's reality. You're changing your perception of reality is what's happening.
Well, it's also when somebody when you get angry at something, you kind of get an endorphin rush. You get it like you're venting. Yeah. And that's kind of how Alex Jones, people like him, they get sort of like a cult following, not only because they're pushing conspiracy theories, but because people become addicted to the anger. They like to,
Absolutely. And it's reinforcing it. You're getting a buzz off of it in a sense. Like you have fans that are like loving you, like, oh my God, you're so right. You're saved. Like all the, the global conspiracy, how Alex Jones talks. He goes, the lizard people are going to come out of the planet.
It's an underground bunker, folks.
It's underground
folks, we have breaking news, folks.
I kind of think too, being
Yeah.
a good person is its own reward. Like I'm a good person because I want to be that way, more than anything. Like if I had lived another way or did things that I didn't agree with, I'd feel like crap. It'd be hard to sleep at night, stuff like that.
Sure. I don't think that's unfair. I think a lot of people, but the where it really comes down to it, I don't doubt B-More. I don't really know you that well. I would imagine your idea of good is a pretty general good, like, be nice to people, probably like the Sermon on the Mount kind of stuff, right? Like, and that stuff probably is going to benefit you. Nestle, I think you were going to say something. I can never pronounce your name, I'm in.
You can call me Ness.
Ness, that's easier. What were you going to say, brother?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything in particular, but I was just thinking about personal experience that I had. Like when I was skiing, for example, I saw somebody tumble over and lose one ski, and that one ski was about to like slide down the mountain very far. So, and I wasn't thinking about it. I just went straight for the ski and I grabbed it, but of course it was a bit risky, and I tumbled over myself, but I still got it, and then I gave it back to the person who was first fell over. So, and when I gave it back, and I got this feeling of like really the feeling of how do you call it, accomplishment, like, oh wow, I did something good, like really the warm and fuzzy feeling of helping someone. Just it wasn't like a rational decision, like, oh, I like not like to think about it, you're just doing it. It was like an acting on impulse, basically.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's a part of it. I definitely think there is some aspect of us that I think I've done studies on this where we definitely feel better when we do good things for other people. Knock, what's up, my man? I'm supposed to say what's up, Mr. Raging Atheist.
Hey, what's up?
Nakasuchi. I can barely say my own name. I'm sorry. How are you tonight, my man?
Pretty good, man. I saw that you was having a room. I was like, I'm gonna jump in and see what y'all are talking about. So I'm gonna catch up and listen to you guys.
Oh, no worries, man. I'll tell you what, this is the most people I've had in a room I can't even remember. Like, it's been years since I've opened up a Hangout to have a bunch of people in. It's been the Google Plus days. All right. It's up to you guys. If you guys have anything we want to jump in the conversation, we can do that. Or if you want me to just keep playing the video and we can comment on that. What are you guys feeling? Anybody have anything they want to bring up, or do we want to just keep playing the video?
Well, yeah, I wanted to mention something. So,
please.
It looks like you've been streaming for almost an hour now. But have you had any of those racists that you were talking about? Have you had anybody challenge you? No,
not yet. I think tomorrow we're gonna have a couple people coming by. Interesting enough, I had so someone messaged me. Well, first of all, after the debate, if many of you haven't seen it on Modern Day Debate, it's also on my channel now, but check it out on Modern Day Debate. I did a debate with Justin. I think his name's Hermes. I think is what he goes by. He was a very nice guy. Like, he's very polite, really easy to talk to. Wrong, but I think very polite and nice. But the fan, like not James's fans, his fans, and the people who watched the debate were monstrous human beings, and what they were saying to me, saying about different races, just really off base. And a lot of people have been reaching out to me and like smack talking. And I had someone in particular reach out and said he just wanted to come on and tell me like crime statistics for Black people. And I'm like, okay, but what's the point? Right? Like, so like I get like you want to come on, you want to show me these statistics. But like, what's your overall point? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what's your point? Like, what's the point behind telling everybody the numbers? Like, is it to understand crime or to understand what's going on in the country? Well, he's like, no, we just need to do it. Yeah, please.
I have a quick question. Yeah. So how familiar are you with people debating things like racism online? Have you watched much
Not
content?
Very much.
Yeah,
no,
I think it would definitely benefit you to check some of that out, because there's a whole culture surrounding how they basicly they divert. It's kind of just like a presuppositionalist, right? You have to be familiar with how they speak. There's a certain way. So I think the study,
it's called whistleblowing.
Yeah. But you were mentioning a document that you were getting these studies from, and I think I have that same document where it's like a bunch of studies, and it's a really good one with like the Ferguson one. Yeah. So I mean, that's a good starting point, but really, I think you should maybe, if you're going to do debates in the future on that, really check out how they talk. It's very interesting.
I wasn't expecting that, to be frank. I mean, I knew that it was going to be some form of just going to the FBI crime statistics. But what I thought it was going to be just more substantive, though, in a sense. Like, I just don't see the point. Like, there's obviously reasons for high crime rates, right? But like, just having a debate to point them out, I don't see what the purpose of it is. It's
right.
Just
they will make sure
they
will make sure to not discuss the reasons or the causes for these things. They just want to show you that these problems exist, and that's it. And that excuses racism somehow, right? Like that's what they try to do to their audience.
If you bring up, for example, the statistics of the crime rate between men and women, and you see that the men commit way more crime than women.
Right.
But of course, that doesn't justify sexism against men.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason why men commit more crime, though, too, right? So that's what we would have to look into, not just point out that fact that men commit more crime. It doesn't do anything.
Absolutely, yeah, and that it kind of threw me off. Yeah, and the guy I was having a conversation with, as I dug deeper, like I was like, okay, just explain this to me, explain this, because what I also find is a lot of people have become very anti-left, right? But I don't think they're necessarily against left policies. Right, they're against like the left social stuff they see on the internet,
right?
And I think that when you really get in, because when I start asking dude policies, but do you agree with this? He's like, yeah. Like if you go down the list, most people probably agree. Maybe they're center left, right, on it. But then they think the left, like the people who represent them in the House, the Congress or Senate, or presidential, like Obama would have been considered a 1980s Republican. Right, by his policy, that dude by no means.
But it's also it's also a tribalistic thing, right? It's not my team, so that kind of drives them too.
It got him pissed off when I told him that I was.
It's ironic. It's ironic because it's basically identity politics what they are driven by, and the identity is basically the party that they are voting for. Like, I am a Republican, and I have been born a Republican, and I will die a Republican. It's basically in a nutshell.
I think ultimately the right has manufactured a version of the left that they can poke at and make fun of to help their base feel much more tribal than they are.
Well, there's something else to point out too, is that internet politics is not real life. It's far different if you were to speak to somebody in real life. They're going to be a little bit more level-headed. They'll have more nuance, but on the internet, it's just fucking cancer,
Oh, it's so much worse on the web. I live in South Dakota. Like we are as red can be, and I am absolutely not. I'm from Washington, from Seattle area. I'm very much on the left side, not extreme left, but left enough that I feel very alone here. But I've never had a conversation that came to blows or was, any kind of like real contention in a face-to-face conversation.
I feel like too, like places out west, like South Dakota, like Montana, like these places tend to be more like old school Republican, like the more kind of libertarian type, like just no big government type, compared to like the social conservatives of the South. And things like that, like the Bible Belt. I watched interesting. Let's see if I can find it here. There was a video that I watched earlier today that was basically like a Trump supporter. Yeah, here it is. Actually, I'm going to play it real quick because I think we're talking about politics here. This might be something interesting to do. So hold on one second. And it kind of like hit things home, like I wanted to play it. Where is it? Is it that one? I don't know. We're going to be surprised if not. Here we go. Don't let it be porn. All right, it's not porn. All right, here we go. Embarrassing that would be. All right. All right. Now this is an interview that was happening, and there's so many of us here. It's so hilarious. Okay, let's do this before I even start talking, so we can see me a little bit. I'm going to point out everything wrong on both sides in this because I think you could just show like the problem with everything in American society from this conversation, right? Let me read these super chats. Talesman Overlander for $2. I mod MDD's chat and I see a lot of racists lately. I think it's a lot of them are coming over from because of those race debates that have been happening. There's been a lot more of them. I don't blame James for that. That's not James' fault. He's just trying to have open dialogue on his channel. And he, I reached out to him and I was like, bro, I was like, do you see the comments people are saying about me? I didn't want him to censor anybody. I was like, dude, I don't care what they say about me. He's like, dude, I can delete something if you feel like it's too offensive. I'm like, no, dude, I don't care what people say. It feels like a badge of honor to me. Like if I have like racist pieces of shit, like literally, you know how many times I got called Jewish? And I'm just like I don't know if you think that's going to offend me.
There's something interesting about that, Skylar.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I say you should look into the subcultures of what these people do online, because a lot of them believe that the media, the government, the banks, they're all controlled by the Jews, and they're dog whistling by saying that. They're giving all their little buddies a pat on the back, like, right, like this guy's a Jew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure you've heard of that. You've heard of that conspiracy, right?
It's basically if you have ever heard about the GMO controversy, it's like when you are like pro GMO and someone accuses you of being hired by Monsanto, it's like that basically. Like, oh, you're a Jew, like you're a part of the conspiracy somehow.
Right.
I think James is kind of regretting those having the white nationalists on because of the white nationalists that are in the side chat now. He's made some comments, but I think he regrets those debates.
It does suck, and it's like I said, I feel bad for him, but it's it's just hate-filled rhetoric, and I love it. Like they can come on if they want to come on and challenge me. I had some neo-Nazi from Germany. I thought it was literally a joke at first because his accent was like so classic, like German. Like it sounded like the ones like if somebody was making fun of like Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler, that's what the guy sounded like. I was like, but when I started listening to him, like, oh no, this dude's for real. All right, I want to play this, and then we'll chat about it here. But I think this is an interesting example. Oh shit! Hold on 1 second. Make sure I played the audio share screen. Come at no, not come at me, bro. There we go.
Excuse me. What I'm going to ask you then is for you to turn around and look at the chart that shows us what the least biased news sources is, and do not pick from the extreme left or the extreme right. Take from things like the Independent and NPR and BBC. Yes, these places are 100%.
See, like instantly, we have mocking of like somewhere like NPR. NPR is probably one of the most non-biased channels out there.
Absolutely.
It's a really good thing, right? She's instantly going into defense mode, like, hey, I do pick, I do go to non-biased sources. I'd be questioning whether it's Fox News, but whatever, we'll go on there. By the way, welcome, folks. Quentin, I don't know how Leah. I'm gonna call you Leo. I don't know how to say your name, my man. I apologize.
Oh, my bad. I didn't realize I was brought.
Hey, you're in. No, you're okay.
Is how it's pronounced. How's it going?
Leo. Good, man. Welcome to the show, brother.
People on the right are brainwashed to hate the media, so of course.
That actually, I agree with that. P-Mars, it's actually nice to have a conversation with you when you're not trolling.
I'm never trolling.
Here's the thing. Here's what we'll say. And listen, I'm worried because the way it's getting very 1984ish up in here in the United States. Like with the idea that truth is fiction, you can't distinguish now because of the way that Trump has like went against the media. But anyways, that's not important yet. Let's keep playing.
100% proven for 50, 60, 70 decades that they have been unbiased. Talking about independent news. I am not here to accuse you of that. What I am saying is it makes no factual sense. I cannot understand the logic of you saying this president loves our veterans when all he does, I wasn't done nothing. Their pay has not increased like he promised. Their benefits have not increased like he promised. The budget has been decreased against what he promised. So how
that's not good.
He supports and loves our veterans.
There we go. Sorry.
That they were suckers and losers for dying in war. I'm not trying to be ignorant.
Sorry. Thanks for the heads up, guys. Sorry. Let's go.
Well, it wasn't the.
What happened?
I was
Sorry.
Say, like they're both just repeating talking points.
Yeah, she said it sounded like she said I'm not trying to be ignorant, which would be hard for me to believe given that you're a diehard Trump fan.
Well, so far I agree with some of the points that the guy is making. Like, Trump made these promises. Trump is making these promises, but he's not keeping them. So what do you have to say about that?
Didn't Donald Trump also steal money from a veterans charity?
I believe so. Yes, I think that he had to pay it back or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
something along those lines.
What the gentleman saying is true, right? He said he was going to fund the military. He hasn't funded the military. He said he was going to increase benefits. That hasn't happened, and it's going to get real bad here in a second. You'll see what I'm talking about, because it really gets into stuff that is just undeniably true or false. What's up?
I was going to say one thing if you're
yeah, please.
A lot of these conservatives who support Trump, I don't think they're aware that there's actually a video where Giuliani is dressed in female drag, and Trump is basically necking him. So I like to point that out to conservatives that support Trump.
Listen, there's pictures of him and Jeffrey Epstein. They don't care. Like the man, there's nothing that you're gonna do to shake like diehard Trump supporters. I'm not talking about people who may have voted for him like last election, just they didn't know any better. But like at this point, you're not going to shake them.
It's a fucking cult. I mean, let's be real.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure.
I have conversations with Trumpers all the time where you explain to them about the 13-year-old girl that accused Trump of rape, or about walking into the Teen Miss USA pageant. They don't care. They justify the most atrocious things,
and they do it. But
I'm pretty sure Putin and Trump could leak a sex tape, and people are still going to vote for the motherfucker.
That's probably true.
Well, prior to the election, the audio that came out with him talking about pussy grabbing didn't do anything. So what else possibly?
And the thing about that is, and this is how you know it's a cult mentality.
That was locker room talk.
Literally every single Trump supporter I mentioned that to, I said, "What's your thoughts on that?" On what he said. Well, Bill Clinton, and I'm just like that. But I didn't ask you about Bill Clinton, did I? It's nothing but deflection, because they don't have a response to it, and they know they don't, so they don't want to talk about it.
It's a whataboutism.
Yeah.
Well, and can we just settle that whole locker room talk thing? Because I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I played football. We have never made comments like that ever.
Yeah,
I always told people, if you went in the locker rooms I was in and said something like that, you'd probably gotten your ass beat.
Yeah. Imagine like Obama doing something like that, and they wouldn't shut up about it for like 10 years. If Obama did this.
Any normal politician that loses them. I think I'm talking over somebody. Go ahead. I'm going to mute.
No, you're all right, man. I was going to say that this is the Nazi German dude who was racist as shit. He came on the show the other night. I just wanted to point him out for folks so that you can recognize his avatar and know that he's a racist piece of shit.
His thumbnail is an elf.
Yeah. Oh, look how the white elves, all the blonde hair elves. He believes that Germans are a race somehow. There was another person in history that thought the German race was superior to other people. It didn't work out that well for a lot. All right, let's go back to this. I want to finish this.
And his son is in office currently.
His son is in. Yeah, it's awful. Where the fuck? Oh, that's right. Here it is. No, can't see it, y'all folks. There we go.
Okay, fine. I'm going to look into this, okay? I will look into the VA policy.
Positive conversation.
Yeah, it's moved on.
Cannot be going around.
But I can. But I can, because I know how much he loves. I've let you speak. I know how much he loves our servicemen and women.
How?
Because he's brought them home. He's ended the lifelong wars.
No, he hasn't.
Yes, he has.
What war is he in?
We've been in endless wars with neocons that want us to go to war. All those military generals that
This is what you call listening to conservative radio, but not really understanding what's going on, right? The wars haven't ended. Like we're still in Afghanistan.
Well, the guy on the other side doesn't seem to realize that either, though.
Yeah, well, I think that's what he's saying. I thought that's what he was saying is like we're still in the wars. Yeah, he's saying, hey, we're still at war. Like now we're just using different. Like he's going to go into it in a minute. He's going to start talking about the drones and shit.
What happened with Syria?
Is he talking about like how they left the Kurds with a big mess? Like oh, good luck.
Yeah, and that's the reason General Mathis stepped down. Like they had that honorable general literally stepped down because he thought it was a betrayal of the Kurds. And listen, when you have military generals like John Kelly, John Mathis,
Mattis, yeah.
John Mattis, sorry. Talking about what a moron this person is.
These guys are
Donald
war
Trump.
hawks, by the way. They're
Yeah.
fucking huge war hawks.
Yeah. And listen, I wish Mathis would actually run for president for the Republicans. Right? Mathis was like that. If you ever read a little bit about he's a really interesting guy.
Mm-hmm.
First, he's like studied in philosophy, like he's well liked in the military. He seemed very reasonable of a human being. I mean, he's still a very pro military person, obviously, but at the same time, I'm for not defunding, but lowering our military spending. I don't think we need to spend all this money on military in modern day, but we just need to be smarter about it. I worry about what I really worry about personally is less about like, it's more about these new like weapons that can control people like through sound and make people physically ill. That's the kind of shit that scares me more than bullets and bombs, because that's a way you can control people.
Yeah, NORAD. They're using NORAD on protesters in the streets now, and they used it against protesters in Standing Rock. So yeah, they're I think I'm more concerned about the weaponry they're using against American citizens myself.
Yeah.
Is that, were you referring to the thing that happened in the Cuban embassy a couple of years ago?
That was a form of it. Yeah. So that's that's a form of the technology. They weren't for sure about it. Like if that happened, because they said it's been a while since I've read about it, but I remember that we had U.S. It was either citizens or service members that what happened.
Oh shit. We have a Zionist in our chat. The racists will not be happy about that one.
What's Zion? I don't know.
We have a Zionist in our chat called Zionist.
Oh my lord! I don't think this is crazy. Let's keep going with this this video. Man, my voice is going bad. Hopefully I don't lose it. There's so many screens. Where are we at? Here we go.
Don't support Trump.
Miss, what war did he end?
We didn't go to war. We were supposed to go to war with North Korea. No.
You just said that we've been in wars.
Sorry, let me
from Afghanistan and Iraq.
Miss, what war did he end?
Okay, then he didn't end wars, but we're not participating.
We are.
So we see the bar. This is the bar. But this is what happens during the conversations too. When I have a Trump supporters, typically the bar gets moved. You show them they're factually incorrect, and it's like, well, we haven't gone to war. Well, if that's the standard now, which isn't even true, right? We did all types of warfare under Trump, and maybe some rightfully so with some of the ISIS stuff. Like he really went fucking hard on ISIS, but so did Obama in the second half.
Well, it's kind of like what P. Mars was talking about. It's like projection, right? Where it's like,
yes,
they take everything Trump says at face value. They don't do any research, and they're expecting you to do the same thing. Just hear what they say and accept it at face value. But if you know anything, you're going to push back a little bit.
This is a classic example right here. I love Jesus Garcia. He's a fan of the show. But like Democrats are doing mail-in voting to steal the election. Not going to happen all day, right?
Trump voted in mail. Trump himself voted in mail.
Yes.
I don't get how mail-in voting is stealing an election when what you're scared of is just more people's going to vote than ever before, and you're going to lose.
That's exactly what it's about. Is they know that they're going to get more votes. It's going to benefit the Democrats to have.
The funny thing is, Trump actually encouraged his own voters to vote by mail.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he says it's safe in some states.
Also interesting to note, every single instance of like mail voter fraud is very rare, but every instance when it happens, it's done by Republicans.
Hasn't it essentially been happening since like the 1700s anyway? Like we've been doing mail-in voting for almost since the inception of the country.
Yeah, and there's certain states that do it just purely do mail. I think like Oregon does purely mail-in
Oregon,
voting.
I thought Washington did a lot of it. Either Maine or Massachusetts or somebody out west. There's a lot of their voters go by mail, and voter fraud in the United States is so infinitesimally small that it's not really a problem we need to be worried about, which is why the types of laws that Republicans pass, their voter ID laws, which are just ways to limit voting, don't hold up very well when the courts take a look at them.
Isn't the idea there that the ID laws tend to disproportionately affect Black voters?
Yes,
and
the court in
voters?
I think it was North Was it in North Carolina or was
South
it in
Carolina?
South Carolina.
Yeah, I know
the
what you're
state.
talking
I think was it the state Supreme Court or the
Supreme
Circuit
Court. That's right.
The state Supreme Court said that it targeted African American voters with quote almost surgical precision, end quote.
Yeah, I even I remember that. I'm Dutch. It was like it was also I maybe it didn't got in the news here, but I read it somewhere about that. Yes. So
all right, let's continue with this video here. So I just want to point out, so far we've moved the goalpost. Now we're saying that he just hasn't started any wars, which
someone in the live chat is it Vosh? Yeah. And he has almost the same haircut indeed.
What are you Miss, we are dropping bombs at an exponential rate all across the Middle East. This year alone, we have dropped the most drone strikes on Iran, on Afghanistan, on Pakistan, on Syria, you name it. Syria. We are using drone warfare that is how military conquest has evolved.
That's how World War III almost started in January because he killed
phase out. So when he says I'm bringing our troops home, sure.
It's something I'm not a fan of in life is like he's reaching. This guy is reaching her. Like she's quiet. She acknowledged some of the points. Other people need to shut the fuck up, right? Like just let this dude get through to her, right? Because I do think like there's a part of her that's like, oh shit, like he's being reasonable. She's willing to listen a little bit, and you're going to see it kind of gets worse. And I can see the frustration that goes on this dude's face when he's like, please, God, shut up. Like, stop talking. Just let me, like, at least reach her.
I'll give you that it is technically right. It is not ending war, though, and it is increasing military budgets.
We signed peace treaties today between Israel and United Arabs. Decades and decades and decades of wars in the Middle East. This president signed peace treaties.
She doesn't know anything about the Middle East and the peace treaties, that these countries weren't really actually at war with each other.
It drives me crazy, Skylar. Yeah, the countries that are signing these deals with Israel have had no beefs with Israel and have never been at war with Israel. And it drives me crazy. And you hear this talking point everywhere now.
Yeah, it's
almost. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, my friend.
I was going to say, it's like that one. It's a veterans organization, and Trump said he got an award from them.
Oh, yeah.
They don't hand out awards at all. It's just, it's sad. It's honestly sad. And I feel sorry for his supporters. I do. I feel sorry that, how do I want to word this?
That the education system failed them?
Well, no, I feel sorry that a man with an exhaustively documented history of fraud and lying is their only beacon of truth. And all the journalists, all the teachers, all the educators, all the scientists are somehow a part of some big liberal, Marxist, socialist, Democrat, communist. All of those words mean different things, by the way. Conspiracy theory to take down Donald Trump that apparently the whole world is somehow a part of.
We have to remember, though, that the Republicans have been trying to slash funding for public education for decades and decades now. And this is the culmination of that. This is how we get leaders like this.
Yep. What's going on in the chat over here? People are saying there's someone being anti-Semitic. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. That guy named Zionist, he's acting like he's a Jewish person, but he's just being over the top. He's dog whistling, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll just block him. All right. Like at least like if you're gonna fucking troll me, come in and troll me. Make it entertaining for the audience. Like doing it in the chat isn't that fucking entertaining. I don't know why some people are so fucking. Hey, now you're blocked. Like that's it. Like now you lose, and then you come in with another sock, and I'll block that. I don't like to block people. I like free speech, but like if you're just gonna like troll, well, do it good. If you're gonna troll me, do it in a funny way that's entertaining. All right, let's continue this video here.
With Iran and the UAE, Israel has been effectively at peace for over a decade. All they did was formalize it. That's it. That peace has existed. He made it seem bigger than it is. And he still did not include Palestine at the negotiation table. So that is problematic. That is
I appreciate you sharing this with me.
Those are things to help our
But this year does nothing productive. It does nothing productive.
Oh,
does nothing productive.
She's pivoting.
I would like to have
Yes, once again, and I mean they're doing the same thing. They're just both on opposite sides. Like they're both protesting each other in a sense.
Well, I think the thing is though, the guy on the left or the right, excuse me, in the frame, but politically on the left, he actually has more of an understanding of the issues. She's not saying anything because she doesn't have anything to fucking say.
But what I like is that he's being respectful with her, and that's the thing, is that when you don't feed that narrative that they already think about leftists, you tend to get through to them. I got to give her some props because I give credit where credit's due. I honestly think that man is making her think. I think that he's making her think about some things. Whether I can't say that she's going to change the fact that she's going to vote for Trump, but it definitely seems like he's just starting to chip away at that wall that they all put up in their minds to block out anything that disagrees with what they've already convinced themselves of.
I don't know if you are right. Like maybe she is thinking, but from what I can see, she's very quick to respond with like pivots and other talking points, and like she's going through the same mindset, continuing it with it. So
well,
and at least
this is a human thing.
Seems to me, yeah.
This is more like what I would say. That's probably more of just a human being thing. I think we all do this, like sometimes, like especially, like no one likes to be wrong, right? No one wants to be wrong, especially like in a heated, especially a political debate or something like that. And I think that like sometimes like people just have to get done with it and go back and reflect and think, I didn't say the right thing there. I didn't hear this, that I shouldn't have said that, or man, that person really did educate me. I mean, there's been things I've been corrected on politically, God knows, or Raptor Jesus knows what I should say. All right.
Have a conversation. I don't hate you. I don't hate you. I love you. I look at people's eyes. I see people's
You hate me. You voted for a president that hates me. No.
Sure, but if you say you love people, then you should be.
I feel anger. I feel all of it.
We are angry. We are angry. You know why we're angry? Because
You can
Trump
see the
is
guy's like, oh my God, stop. Just let me talk to her. Like that was a little going nuts.
She's just kind of going on an emotional rant.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's just not helpful in the situation. And I get it. You can be emotional, you can be upset about it. You have every right to be upset about the situation in our country. But like, it's about when, like, here's one of the things I've learned in life. And one of the things I used to do early on the channel is I used to just talk shit. I would just be really rude to people and stuff. But I realized that like, that's not effective, right?
Yeah.
If I want to convince people, I've got to get along with you. I've got to find ways to connect with you and grow a relationship with you.
Well,
and if you don't do that, like you're not going to change anybody's mind.
I mean, should you draw a line somewhere though? Is there a point where you can say this person can no longer be reached?
For
Yeah,
me,
maybe, but like I mean, dude, what's the name of that guy? There used to be this. There was this black preacher that converted so many KKK members, right?
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name. He's like, there he was brilliant, right? I mean, he was like, he told stories. I mean, this little KKK member, like, burned a cross outside of his house. They would call and harass him, and this black dude would just be like, "Man, I love you, brother. Like, I love you, and we're gonna be best friends." And like the funniest story I'll remember this guy telling is like, they basically, this black minister was in this restaurant eating, and a bunch of KKK members basically came and surrounded him. And he's like, "Boy, you better get up out of this restaurant, or we're gonna do whatever you do, what you're about to do to that chicken." And the guy talks about how he just took the chicken, picked it up, I just gave it a fucking kiss. Just right on the fucking chicken. And it disarmed everybody because even the KKK members started laughing because they're like, "Oh, fuck. Like, that's fucking hilarious." But I think there may be that limit with people who are psychologically damaged, right? Like where there's really mental health issues, sure. But if someone's a normal adult, for whatever reason, yeah.
Do you not think that? Do you not think that making fun of people and talking trash can be effective too? I mean, when we're talking about people that are only impressed by like the strong man, or they're impressed only by like, rhetorical flourish. I mean, maybe shit talking is the only way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it's just really, I guess it would really depend on the context of the situation, but I could definitely see there's avenues where that might be effective.
I also think like it is also effective of the defeating the intimidation factor. Like a lot of people are intimidated by the KKK, and when you are treating that with less respect, like by by shit talking about it, then it will tone down the intimidation factor. At least
Yeah,
it seems to me.
exactly. They rely on the intimidation. Yeah.
I think it is situational. I've been in a lot of protest situations like the one that we're watching, and a protest situation like this. We had one here not too long ago where you're dealing with Trump supporters. It's a different animal. I've also been in protest situations where I've been nose to nose with neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and in the heat of the moment, I mean, you're hearing the worst of humanity come at you, and you rage, and a lot of violence starts in these moments on both sides. You hear the stuff, you react to it. So I think the way I've tried to do it on my channel is I've tried to use both techniques. I will rage if it's called for, if it's a hateful ideology like Matt Powell, but I will almost bend over backwards to be respectful when the conversation is due that. Just to kind of find that balance and pick my battles.
Just to be clear, I think I was kind of just strictly talking about talking on the internet. Like if you're face to face with a Nazi, I mean you're gonna want to protect your ass. Like don't go for it.
Yeah, you gotta be safe. Yeah.
May I say something?
Please be more.
I think okay, so I used to be like you, Skylar. I'm a fan of insult comedy. I'm a fan of comedy in general. So I like I think banter's fun. But yeah, I think if you want to change someone's mind, if that's your goal, I think you need to make your life also an example of the principles you believe in. And I started doing that myself. Like I got I was out of shape and stuff, and I got healthier is one thing I did. And that's a problem I have with Christians. Actually, a big criticism I have is that a lot of them are hypocrites, and there's this, in my opinion, a evil doctrine that's getting believed by Christians, is that you're saved by grace and your works don't matter. And I think your works are of the utmost importance. And if these Christians weren't hypocrites and they actually made their life of an example of like the things Jesus talks about, like on the Sermon for the Mount, then I think they're atheists would have a lot less complaints to make towards them, at least. If not, they would convert more people.
I 100% agree with you. I think that is one of the most effective ways. If there's a Christian out there and they really want to, get more people saved or get people to have a relationship with God, act like you have a relationship with God and treat people the way that Jesus told you to treat people. Right? I could, when I meet those kind of people, I actually thank them. Right? I'm like, thank you, like for the way you treated me. Because the amount of people that I've run into that just came in hating me or spewing stuff at me, like obviously, folks, this show is a little satire. I don't know if you guys know this. We have this little thing, Raptor Jesus over here in the corner. All hail him, right? Like we make jokes, we do things, but we also when we run, real. Well, listen, under his claws, don't deny him. All right, but at the same time, like, what is it, Gandhi? Be the change you want to see in the world. Anyways, all right. God, this voice, I hope it's back tomorrow.
Promoting our deaths. He is promoting the deaths of Black Lives Matter. He literally called the people, the Kenosha shooter, the person that came into a Black Lives Matter,
who defended himself from a guy that was being hung up.
Actually,
He had his mother.
Miss.
He worked that day.
Respectfully, the autopsy shows that man was shot in the back 7 times. There's no way he was defending. He drove 2 state lines to be there. And he also broke 5 felonies.
He worked there that day.
No, he broke 5 felonies.
I want to know, Joy. Listen.
Wash dishes. Jeffrey Dahmer had a job. And he's still guilty.
Sure, that's fine.
Right now,
he broke 5 felonies to do that, which makes self-defense inadmissible as a defense.
He held a gun to his head and he was about to get bashed in with a skateboard, and he fired and defended himself like that.
No, that man that used the skateboard to attack Kyle Rittenhouse, yes. You know what happened? But do you know what happened right before that man hit him with a skateboard?
Do you know the man that he killed, that he shot in the head? Do you know that he raped children? Do you know that he was a sex offender that raped children? You can look up.
There's like this new thing on the right that's obsessed with pedophilia, right? Like the QAnon thing, all like it's
projection, bro.
Well, it is QAnon. QAnon is memeing this thing into like everywhere.
I was obsessed with pedophilia before it was cool.
We just
I'm actually
triggered
being no, I'm actually
Mark.
being serious.
That's right.
I was like in 2006, I got really into researching like there's weird stuff going on in Hollywood, and that is no joke. So I got kind of obsessed with that because growing up, I loved Hollywood movies and stuff, and then I find out like what there's weird sex cults in Hollywood that are doing unlawful activities, and it piqued my interest. So
Yeah, but think about all the crazy shit going on in the world that you have no idea about.
Oh man, yeah, it's scary as fuck.
That should
I
keep you up.
watched a documentary. I can't remember what the name of it was. It was about I want to say it was like an island off of New York or something, but basically it was like an island for teens and stuff that I don't know if they've either been charged with like pedophilia or like they're having issues with it, and but they basically put them on an island, right? And it's like a little prison, but it's they're supposed to be kind of like getting counseling and stuff, but like they do these interviews with them, and then they kind of like interview some of the doctors, some of the psychiatrists, and they say like some of these guys are just lying to you so they can get out and go offend. Like they are so manipulative, like in what they do. They will convince you, they'll tell you they're sick and that they're healed, but realistically they're not healed. And I don't know if that's something I don't know how much truth there is to that. That'd be a good discussion next week sometime.
I think
I don't know if that is something that is curable.
I think one of the things with me is like you were saying about getting addicted to anger. Like I'd read these stories about children getting abused and it'd make me really angry. And I had to stop actually when I was reading about a court case that involved satanic ritual abuse. And the things this child testified were so horrific. I don't repeat them. And it made me stop researching that subject completely.
No, I couldn't even. Yeah, I can't read that stuff. I can't watch. I have children, and like anytime any kind of, it doesn't have to be that kind of level, but like kids getting killed, kids getting kidnapped. I'm like, no, not today, folks. I can't do this to myself. Like I just can't. I can't watch stuff like that because it makes me worry too much. I don't want to worry like that. I don't want to live. I'd rather fucking just watch like Half Baked and have a good time, right? Than worry about shit like that. Yeah, no, you're right. Like, and it truly is. All right, let's keep pulling this a little bit more. Yeah, please. Anybody else?
Yeah, the right has been for some reason doing this thing of keep saying like victims of shooters are like, well, they're actually criminals, so it's perfectly fine that they got shot and killed. And I'm like, that's not perfectly fine. This person got killed.
That's what they did to George Floyd. Same thing.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like a person died. What's admit the fact someone died? What's not try to cover it up with criminal records?
And another thing about that I find funny is those same people love to tout the Constitution, but then believe that we should subvert the Constitution and not let these people have their day in court. That with extrajudicial killings are okay somehow because the person was a criminal. So is it? Are you a constitutionalist or not?
Exactly.
Or do you only accept it when it benefits your case?
I have a video about this where I caught Trump being hypocritical because he supported he brought up creating a law to put people in jail for a year if they burn a flag, and that was ruled twice in court to be unconstitutional. Burning the flag is protected by the First Amendment, so Trump is going against the Constitution right there. He doesn't even know it, I think, because he's so ignorant.
Well, and that battle was fought 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, even if the person who got shot isn't a criminal, there was the girl who got shot like 40 times or something. Cops came in her front door with a no-knock.
Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, Breonna Taylor.
They vilified her in the media as well, trying to make her look like a bad person. And as far as I can see, she's not.
Yeah,
she was a cop, I think.
It's a whole narrative that they're trying to create around the people that are getting shot, trying to make it less than what
the
it
thing
is.
about that is they settled for $12 million, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, if this is a crime that I'm going to use the word worth, but that's not really the right word. I can't think of it. If this is a crime that can be settled with $12 million, somebody ought to be going to jail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is we have a system that cops protect cops. And I think that a
yeah.
lot of it is just, I mean, some of it's racism, but I think a lot of it too is it's the power structure of police. And I think that police officers don't like when you talk back. And if people talk back or
power trip,
challenge their authority, man, I could tell you as a teenager, man, there was a particular part of Orlando that I've got pulled over twice and we were harassed for hours, literally on the side of the road. Like they made us get out of our cars, stand there. I was a smart ass, of course, because I was who I am. Unfortunately, I was a badass little fucking teenager. And like I would be a smart ass. I'm lucky I didn't get fucking killed. Right. And the thing about it is like this, I see videos all the time. I mean, listen, and I always have to say this first. There are plenty of good cops. Yes, we all fucking know that, right? There are lots of cool cops. They're just fucking trying to do their job, right? But there are all these pressures that come along with it. You also have to just worry about the dangers of things, like you're getting shot, and you also are dealing with the scummiest fucking people in the world as that job. Dude, I used to hate working in retail because I had to fucking work with the general public. And then now the only people you interact with is negative situations. Like there's no positive. Yeah. So
you've also like instances when a good cop calls out the bad behavior of another cop and he gets vilified for being a quote unquote rat or a snitch.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
Well, and they've been militarized, and they had these huge budgets. And like, if you talk to any military guy, and you talk to them about the police, they'll just. It's almost unbelievable to them because there's no rules of engagement. They've been militarized, but their training almost dictates that they protect their life first instead of serve the life of the citizens that they're supposed to be serving. It's a training and a budget issue, and then they blow that out of proportion when you say defund the police. We're not saying, hey, get rid of police forces. We're saying, hey, let's bring it down a little bit. We live in a police state. Let's demilitarize the police. And maybe work on their training just a bit, maybe.
Josh, I think you have to let Josh speak real quick. He's been trying to get something out here. Yeah.
A couple of things. First of all, Raging, have you ever watched Bo of the Fifth Column?
No, I haven't. I think I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
He's got a great channel, and he talks exactly about this, about the insufficient training that the police get and the overly abundant equipment that they get that makes them feel like a military force and makes them act like a military force. The thing I've been trying to talk about for a bit is it's kind of, I imagine it might be a somewhat unpopular opinion, but I don't think that most police go into police work being racist dickheads. Like they don't start out that way, right? But I think being inundated with interactions with people that are just massively negative, and having to deal with people of certain races that are violent people can sensitize you to certain things. And I think they end up going down a path that they almost can't avoid. And they're not getting sufficient psychological help to work through the issues that they have on the job. And I don't think the police unions help at all, nor does that sort of boys club thing that I think started out as a way to protect themselves from a dangerous public and has morphed into something much more nefarious.
It's really, and you're right. And what happens is, I think, is because of our history and what's going on, and the institutional racism that we've had. I mean, like I said, my grandparents' generation were taught that they were inferior, right? So basically, like people my age, their grandparents, I'm 41 years old, like their grandparents were taught that they were inferior to another race, right? They had segregation in the South. Not only just laws like that, but just job opportunities. I mean, it's one thing that the government was able to fix, and say, hey, you can't, separate the education system. But the other aspect is that, like, it didn't mean that fixed the problem, right? Racists didn't go away. It wasn't easier for people to get jobs. It was still hard to get to college. And now, and also the drug war, right? Because what happens when you have poverty and a lack of education and you don't have opportunity, people got to survive, right? We live in a capitalist society. And if the way you're going to be able to survive and make money and get the fuck up out of this is selling drugs, well, that's what you're going to do. And then when the reaction is, because we have drugs that are illegal, we create like gangs that now that can fight police officers, or we create drug war, or we create cartels in Mexico, right? But now what we're seeing is years later, we're seeing all the repercussions of this. We're seeing what happens in the inner cities and low income places where there's not a lot of opportunity, there's not a lot of help, there's not a lot of support. The crime rate's going to go up, right? And it just so happens in those areas, because of the situation, this is why I always, when people quote the statistics about a high black murder rate, right? I went back and looked at it, because I told during the debate, I was like, look, what's the amount of gang members? So it's hard to find specific data depending on, because the FBI I didn't see the gang member stuff, but I found other websites that did. So for instance, in 2013, of the 1,500 murders, 1,000 of them were gang related, right? And why are the people in gangs? It has nothing to do, obviously, with someone's fucking skin color. Like, your skin color doesn't make you go do crimes, right? And what happens is these cops are now in areas that happen to be, because of the economic system, predominantly black. And now the crime, because it's so much poverty, is higher. Now they're not connecting the idea that the reason the crime is so high is the poverty. They're connecting the reason the crime is so high is because of the people they're seeing all the time, a particular skin color, right? There's no fucking nuance to any of this shit. I don't know. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I think in those situations, you kind of have to get them to admit that they think black people are inherently more violent than white people.
Yes,
because they're not upfront about that. And if you can get them to say that they're just basically going on intuition, well, then you got it in the bag, because you have the data on your side. You know,
racists try to avoid being explicitly racist as hard as they can.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think there is an argument to be made that there is this deep-rooted systematic racism within the country. I mean, all you have to do is go back to the Civil War, 1864. 90% of the country's ideology that weren't slaves were white supremacists, and that ideology hides in the shadows, and people don't even realize when they fall into it. I mean, it's so predominant in the society and just in the way everything has been built, because it's always been here since we became a country, that it's going to take something like what's happening right now, civil unrest, to make great institutional change. It's the only thing throughout history that ever has.
Yeah. And, to point out something like, so the gentleman who's supposed to be coming on my show tomorrow, if he doesn't fucking chicken out, the guy wanted to come on about race statistics. I got him. And I was like, well, give me one reason why you think the black community has a higher crime rate. Right. And he brings up the idea. This is probably what you're talking about, Chewy, these buzzwords and codes that they talk in about, like fatherless parents. So he's like, well, the black community has less, has more fatherless children growing up. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, have you looked at the statistics for white people? And do white people who are fatherless commit the same amount of crime? And his answer was no. I was like, well, then it's not being fatherless that's leading to the crime statistics, because now it has to be something to do with, well, it doesn't have to. What you're saying, what you're trying to argue, has something to do with the race. Because if you're saying it's the fatherlessness, why isn't it affecting other races like that? And I don't think he really looked at the data. I would guarantee it probably has the same effect on white families not having a father figure or something. Anyways.
Yeah. This whole idea of, like, Skylar, Chewy, and Raging Atheist has made good points about how everything's connected, and for some odd reason, no one's pointing that. Like, the people who are arguing against our ideas, against systematic racism, don't connect thoughts for some odd reason. And it's very mind-boggling when that happens. And this idea that history has no impact on the present is a complete ridiculous idea held by many people when talking about police brutality and the treatment police have treated many minorities. And for some odd reason, the right seem to demonize anyone who speaks out against these power structures of the police and how they've been extremely exploited for their power and position in our society.
Remember, after World War I, we made Germany pay reparations, and that led to World War II.
Yeah. Everything's connected. No, history is deeply connected with each other, the past and the present.
I honestly don't know how P. Mars has restrained himself to this whole conversation. I'm impressed.
P. Mars, you have impressed me during this entire stream.
You're an impressive individual.
Oh, if you guys only knew. I mean, some of you know. I mean,
yeah, I have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, I can't really argue.
I just want to say I called this shit the other day. I just want to tell you.
I'd have to do.
I called it.
Okay, can we get more of the video, or is it?
Yeah, let's go back to the video.
I don't know.
Let's play a little more.
Look up his record.
Two things, miss. Two things, miss. Two things. Real quick. Two things, miss. Yeah, two things.
He was being attacked.
Real quick. No.
They threw Molotov at him.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on.
I guess that's it.
Ah, damn it.
That was it.
I was hoping what the guy was about to say, but he got cut off, unfortunately.
Yeah. The guy's face instantly like cringed when the other lady started talking, and he's like, "Please stop."
Welcome, Frustrated Atheist Man. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man? It's been a while.
It has been. God, my voice is going out. I don't know how much longer we're going to go. But anybody else have any thoughts, ideas? Frustrated Atheist, you just joined. Would you have anything you'd like to say about what's been going on so far?
Well, I sit there and heard a lot of talk about the systemic racism, and I'm sorry, there's just so much evidence that shows that this is an issue in the United States that you can't exactly ignore it.
I think there's a problem with the right assuming that systemic racism is law-based racism.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Whereas it's really just not.
Yeah. The thing is, when it comes to systemic racism in general, like, are there laws that have helped pretty much put minorities at a disadvantage? Of course there are. But the great majority of them is just in the culture itself, the way that we're raised up, the way that it went raised up throughout, right after even before the Civil War, all the way up until now, like going through the Jim Crow era and all that stuff, that there's just so much that's ingrained in society itself that everything is always, makes it to where people, minorities are at a disadvantage.
Well, it's much deeper than culture. It's it's financial too. I mean, there was during Jim Crow, there was redlining. So all this generational wealth that the current generation missed out on, that's a huge thing. It's way more than culture,
Oh yeah, no. There's so much to it that whenever the right sits there and says, "Oh, well, name me a law that's been inactive recently that's helped prevent things for minorities," and it's like, well, there's just so much shit that you want me to like, especially because whenever I argue with people about it, it's usually on Twitter, and so it's like, you really want me to sum up systemic racism within a couple of tweets? Like, really?
Yeah, P. Mars said that to us yesterday.
I'd like to tell a tale of systematic racism.
All right, here he goes. You better end it now, Skylar.
I wanted to jump in quick.
What's your issue with P-Mars?
I forgot I'm on mute here. Hold on. So
time.
All right, let's let Leo. I'm gonna let you say the last thing on this topic, but I have an idea I want to do. Ask some fun questions because we have a pretty good panel here. I think that I have some fun questions I could ask. We can kind of go around if you guys are down, kind of lighten it up a little bit from race for the last 30 minutes of the show, what Raptors users would want from us. Leo, but why don't you finish this up? What do you have to say, my man?
When I talk to some people about systemic racism in this country, I always hear, well, especially when we look in our past, everybody did so good. The middle class used to be so strong, and that is definitely true. If we look back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, essentially from FDR to Reagan, because Reagan fucked this country economically. That's a different discussion, though. I think the thing that people overlook is that during that period, all of the growth and the wealth and everything was pretty much non-existent for Black communities. So that's why they have 8% on average, the wealth that the average white family has. And one of the biggest things when people want to know about systemic racism that I brought up, and it was mentioned, is redlining. And
Oh,
I would
God,
go,
yes.
well, that's not in place anymore. And I'm like, you're correct. But the effects of it still
Oh,
are.
yeah.
That's why, though, the African American communities seem so poor is because of what this policy did for the value of those communities. And there is still, see, we can get rid of laws that are racist, but you can't get rid of the racism in people. And they've
Oh,
done
no.
studies in this country where people who use black sounding names on applications tend to get less callbacks and less interviews than people who use white sounding names. So if you used a name like Deontay Jones versus a name like Robert Smith, the guy Robert Smith is going to get more callbacks and more interviews. So for me, the systemic racism also comes down to the people working in the system who still adhere to racial biases and racial prejudices.
Oh, yeah.
May I say something? Because I didn't get to say anything. About
Yeah, go ahead, my man.
I think a good story of racism to look at is what happened to Bruce Lee, right? So he tried to, he was talented enough, obviously, to make it in Hollywood, but Hollywood wouldn't accept him because of his race. So what he did was he was like, I'm not going to let someone get in the way of my dreams. And he went to Hong Kong and he became a huge movie star in Hong Kong, so huge that Hollywood came knocking to him and asking him to come back to Hollywood. So I think
well, he's an outlier. He's on the fringe.
Sure.
Like,
no, it's not. You can't make excuses and blame other people. Like, there's always going to be obstacles in life, and you need.
We're talking about systemic racism. We're not talking about individuals.
Them and not blame other people because you aren't where you want to be in life. You got to make things happen for yourself.
Can I just get a second?
So we've all got to go to Hong Kong and be a big movie star in order to make it.
Yeah,
we're
all not fucking Bruce Lee. Yeah, we're not all Bruce Lee. We're not Bill Gates. We're talking about systemic racism that affects all of us. Now, so what your little anecdote there has nothing to do with what we've been talking
I think what
about.
I said is more helpful to people being oppressed than anything you guys said.
Not to mention the fact.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up here. P-Mar's gonna lead us down a rabbit hole that I think he's intentionally trying to lead us down at this point, and I don't want to go down it. I'm gonna ask. It won't end. Don't worry about it. It's the same shit over and over again. It never ends. It's the same religious talk. All right, here's my question. I'm gonna go around. I had it pulled up. Hold on. Now I feel okay. Would you rather be in a, you know what? I'm going to ask everybody different questions just because it's what I want to do. All right. So let me just go. I'm going to go top to bottom. Mr. Parker, you there?
Yeah.
All right. Here's my question to you. Would you rather be in a real life version of The Walking Dead or a real life version of the Game of Thrones?
Oh, this
real life version of The Walking Dead, because I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, and I need to do that.
It's tough. I mean, it depends on what character I am. I mean, no spoilers. It's not ruin it for Mr. Parker. But like, I guess it depends on who I am in Game of Thrones. I kind of like. I'd be a little Tyrion. What's Tyrius? The
Tyrion.
little person.
Tyrion.
Tyrion. That's who I would be. I love that man.
I drink and I know
hero.
things.
Favorite character.
Yep, by far. All right, good answer. P-Mar. P-Mars. How about this? Would you rather have Batman skills, money and equipment, and lifestyle, or end crime around the world for good, but be poor and unnoticed?
That's easy. I'm already poor and unnoticed. So,
but you could be Batman, right? You could be Batman and fight crime. That's still possible in this scenario.
I don't know. I like being poor and unnoticed, so I like the idea of any crime.
Mars, you did just sit there and say something that defines most of us, being poor and unnoticed.
Right.
All right. Let's all right. So Ness. This is fun. This is actually really good. It's not the one I want. I gotta find one that's good. They were really good in the beginning. Nope. Nope. One more. Let's do this one. Sorry. Okay. You're a mad scientist. What scientific experiment would you run if money and ethics weren't an issue?
Ooh, that's a very interesting question. Let's see here. I actually don't know. Like one thing I am a bit curious, but of course it's a bit gross, is to see whether humans and chimpanzees could interbreed or not. But of course that is a very, very ethical
No,
issue.
that's okay. Listen, it's a
Yeah.
hypothetical. It's a hypothetical. That's the point of
Yeah.
it. That's a good one.
Of course, I'm not going to say like, oh, if I was able to do it, I would fuck a chimpanzee. No, I would.
Is this projection again?
In vitro, I would do in vitro fertilization, of course.
The funny thing is, there actually is an answer to that question, and it's no.
I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
If humans and monkeys could interbreed, basically.
Chimpanzee.
All right. Chewy. If there was a zombie apocalypse, how long would you last?
Well, since I don't have really any like survival skills, I don't know how to search for food in the wild. Probably not very long. To be totally honest.
I wonder sometimes. Like, I definitely like don't want that now as like with a family because that's just too much to worry about. Like, I don't have to worry about my family and surviving. Maybe if me on my own, I feel like I could do. No, I would do terrible.
Well,
Who am I kidding? I would die.
We have to be specific too. What kind of zombies are we talking? Walking Dead zombies or like?
Oh, that's a good point.
Running zombies,
Yeah.
like what kind? You know?
Yeah, because really, 28 days later, zombies, we're all fucked. We ain't gonna survive that. That's like a disease. Like, no, you can get their blood on you, and you're fucking infected.
And
That's
those
like
motherfuckers,
rage. Yeah.
they run after you.
Yeah, there's no surviving that. Basically, yeah, I would be absolutely terrified by that. I don't even know what I would do, man, because I can't hunt. I wouldn't be able to go out there and hunt and catch an animal or anything like that. Like, I don't even know what I would do. Okay, this is a good question. Josh, what fictional character do you wish you could be?
Wow. Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, you could be movie. It can be from a book, a TV
That should
show.
have been my question.
I know.
What's
I kept thinking
funny?
about previous.
No. Take your time for a minute. I'll answer this. And what's funny is why I want to answer this because I think Knock and I we're gonna have a debate on this eventually. Whenever I stop fucking canceling it, is Knock and I are going to be having a debate on who is the best Star Trek captain. Knock is a Kirk fan. I'm a Kirk Picard. But that's the character that I would want to live is Jean-Luc Picard.
Someone in the live chat answered Garth.
Garth who?
God. Someone in the live chat
God.
I forgot about him.
That's a good answer.
I don't know, man. He's kind of a dick.
But you can change your character, right? Or your character traits, or not if you choose to be.
You're kind of unlimited in power in that sense. I guess that's a way to go. Josh, I'm coming back to you.
I'm just going to go with the easy answer. I would definitely be Tony Stark.
Tony Stark would be pretty badass. I like that. All right. I don't know what superhero I would be. I used to love Spider-Man as a kid. I feel like Superman's the way to go if you want to be invincible, though. But do I really want that?
It's kind of boring to me.
It is kind of boring, right? All right, let's think more. But actually, what I really love is what's his name. My favorite comic of all time is The Watchmen, hands down. Like that movie is brilliant. It's literally my favorite comic book movie ever made. A lot of people don't like it. But
my favorite character within there is Rorschach.
Rorschach is great. I've watched a little bit of it. I didn't dig it as much as the movie because I really in the movie, man, that godlike character is played so brilliantly.
Dr. Manhattan.
Dr. Manhattan, the struggle like he's going through with like losing his humanity and trying to like deal with humans and still being in love. And
he sits there and has a relationship with the whatever, and it's his way of trying to be still human, because he's dealing with the fact that because of having the abilities he has, like you said, all humanity is just draining from him, and he's just lost all touch with humanity in general, and just is kind of like going through the motions of leaving his humanity behind. And so he's just like, okay.
Hey, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
guys,
please.
Can you see in the chat where that German dude you were talking about? He said that Vincent James wants to debate you on modern day debate. That guy's pretty influential. I think it's something to look into.
Who the fuck is Vincent James?
Yeah, I don't know.
His channel is Red Elephant. He's a super racist dude.
Listen, dude. Just tell him that I'll do it, but you got to get in contact with James. James can help set it up if James is interested in doing it. If he's not, you could always come on my channel and have a debate with me. It's fine. I can get a moderator if the guy wants a moderator or something.
Yeah, he's the dude.
I'll mod it if you need me to.
Skylar,
yeah.
You ever heard the idea that the comic book heroes are based on ancient mythology? I think Batman was supposed to be Pluto, and the Gotham was the underworld.
I've heard something like that. I haven't really looked into it. I don't really know the details of it, but I have heard that before. Yeah.
Well, if you want to, like, the thing is when it comes to that type of stuff, is like, when it comes to stories in general, like, there's really no new stories that can be told. They all have the basic, sure, the like certain character aspects and certain like different elements within the stories can be different, but as an overall concept, most stories, like, there's nothing new. And so whenever we sit there and hear different stories, it's like, oh, I've heard this one before, because this is just pretty much the battle between good and evil, or this is, some kind of epic hero style story and things like that.
Yeah. Also, there's also like a lot of parallels between Superman and Jesus, and the latest movie really tried to hammer that point in your throat every opportunity they can get, but still.
Yeah, so it goes off of a lot of different the way stories are done, and the way how there's no real new way of telling the story.
Is this? Hold on a second. We'll show you. Looks like I found him.
Before we move on, Skylar, I know you are like a film and movie guy.
Yeah.
I highly recommend giving the Watchmen series another shot. Like, the first 2-3 episodes were not that great, and then it gets amazing.
That's true with like most series. Is like the first couple of episodes are like meh, but then as time goes on, you sit there and actually they start getting better and better, and you're like, okay, this seems pretty good.
I want to watch Brave. So I started reading the book Brave New World in the last couple of days, and I like it. It's really dark. There's no doubt about that of a book. I don't like it as much as I thought I was going to like it. Like I've been reading I recently read Animal Farm, which was probably by far one of my favorite books I've ever read. It's just so good, and I love 1984 by George Orwell. But it's a little on the nose, but they do have a TV series that's on the Peacock, I guess NBC's channel. So I want to check it out, and it's got a lot of notoriety. But this is the dude. So is this the dude, guys? Well, that's Michelle Malk walking live. But let's see, Vincent James interview. Is that the guy?
That's him. Yep. He talks a lot about gun statistics, gun violence. So just a heads up on that.
Yeah, that's fun.
I in a video and fact checked it, and like 98% of everything that he said was so asininely wrong. I had to go relearn algebra.
Well, yeah, he makes his own fucking graphs, for Christ's sake.
Oh, does he?
Really?
Oh, I'd have to come back. I'd definitely prep for that and make sure that I'm really good to go.
Apparently, Vince is that
does he use a Sharpie for his own graphs?
What is it? Is there? Shit. Hold on a second.
There was a reference to Trump using a Sharpie for like the hurricane thing. You remember? You remember that?
Hold on 1 second. I do see. Let me see if I have someone backstage here.
Yeah, he's back there.
Is that actually Vincent James?
Yeah, it's Vince James.
Oh, hold on 1 second. I gotta have someone leave because I can't put him in here. So I'm gonna have to randomly pick somebody. Anybody want to leave? Because I gotta let somebody leave.
I'll take off, but I just wanted to plug my channel. I just started a channel. It's Chewy Debates. I'm actually trying to set up a debate with Skylar on deplatforming. Hopefully he gets through to me on that. But
yes, we're gonna do that.
Oh, I'm looking you up now. It's Chewy Debates.
Chewy debates. Yeah, please. I don't have any
Is it-
subscribers yet, so I
Is
would
it going to
appreciate
be like modern day debate where you just kind of host
No,
debates
no.
on different
It's just
topics?
me debating people. That'd be.
Oh,
what it is.
okay.
But
Hey,
I
hey, actually, you know what? Stay here for just a second. I'm gonna we're just gonna put. Hold on a second. Actually,
I think somebody already jumped off, didn't they?
yeah, hold on.
Chewy
Yeah,
jumped
just.
out.
Oh, did he? Okay, hold on a second. What's up, dude? Vincent James, you want to have a debate? I heard on modern day debate.
No, someone just linked me. I don't even know who you are. Actually, someone just linked me that said, "Hey, jump in." They're talking about things